How's it going? IFBB Pro Jason Lowe here with Brent Swansen at the Muscle Egg booth. So, what's been going on with you? I know you hit a couple competitions or this year. What's the plans for the future?
I did the New York Pro and was really happy with the look that I brought. You always, as a bodybuilder, want to get better, right? So right now I'm in my off season and I'm making some quality gains, and then I'm gonna look at a show schedule here in the next few months, and then make a basically just make a plan for next year. So
nice, awesome. So yeah, I mean you're a massive guy. So you always bring the conditioning too. I've seen you like peeled out of your mind. So what's the game plan leading forward?
You know, I've had some feedback to where maybe if I came in a little bit fuller, you know, it might help out a little bit, but in all honesty, I love conditioning, and for me, I don't know if I could pull back on the reins a little bit, because even if I'm really conditioned, if I'm not like splintered, you're always known as your last competition. I think if I came in a little bit fuller, I would be bigger, because like right now I'm 310, I'm in decent shape, but I don't know if it's wise to cut down all the way to 260 pounds on stage at like 250. So honestly, I'll just leave that up to Chad. You know, we might bring a fuller look for one show, and then if the judges don't like it, pick a show 4 weeks later and then just dial it in all the way. So usually when people say they're going to come in fuller, it's always a bad decision. In my case, if I could bring 90% of the conditioning with 30 to 40% more fullness, you know, that might be a good combination. I've never tried that, so we're going to talk about that and then see kind of what happens next year.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, especially when you're known for conditioning.
Yeah.
You're known bringing it in build, and then you try and come in fuller, and they're like, oh, well, he wasn't his normal conditioning.
Right. So, and I feel like I do lose on stage a little bit of the bells and whistles, the fullness, but at the same time, like, I'm cross-striated everywhere. So, and to me, when I was growing up, reading all the magazines and looking at all the bodybuilders, I was always drawn to, the Rich Gasparis, like all the guys who were just like shredded beyond belief. And I always said, I want to look like that guy. So at the end of the day, like, I want to look like how I want to look, but I also want to do well in shows. So I might try a different route, so we'll see. But that's just kind of where my head is right now.
Like you said, you tried it one show. If it doesn't work out in your favor, you got another show lined up, and you can come in how you want to look.
Exactly. So that's kind of the game plan moving forward.
All right. So pre-judging last night, we had a battle. What did you think?
I'm always partial to Derek, because me and Derek have been friends for like probably 12 or 13 years when he first started out competing in local shows in Indiana, and I'm from Illinois. So I thought Derek looked great, but I think everybody was a little bit off. Not at their best, but I think Derek has a good shot. I really liked Samson as an overall package. I think Derek has the shape. I think Hottie's still the most conditioned, but I think if you want the best package of size, shape, and conditioning, I think, Samson kind of has that. So if they're looking for the total package, I think he's probably a little bit in the front right now, but honestly, I think it's going to come to tonight, and who can really dial it in. I think it's close enough between those three to where they're going to give him a really good hard look tonight. I think tonight's going to kind of separate him from the pack a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And I can't imagine how hard it is to try and peak when you're not going on stage till 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
So it will be, I think, up to tonight how everyone comes back the second day.
Right, exactly. And I think too, when pre-judging's already done, there's a lot of stress that isn't there because pre-judging's already done. I think a lot of guys honestly come back sharper the second day just because there's not as much stress. You know what I mean? You've already been on stage, you kind of know where you're going to place within a few placings. So it's kind of like, I feel like when you don't have that cortisol and that stress, I know as silly as it seems, that you just look better usually the second day.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. I mean, we all look better that next day after the stress is gone and the relief from getting on stage has passed.
Right, yeah. Of course. So that's kind of what I thought. 212, I thought both of them looked great. I personally would have had Sean winning because I'm a conditioning guy, right? Like, I like the conditioned hard look. Not saying that Keon looked bad, but I think Sean just has a more complete, more of a mature muscle look, whereas Keon's a young guy, so his muscle's kind of round, bubbly, and not as, I call it old man muscle, you know what I mean? So they're both great. They're the two top competitors in the 212, but I was a little bit shocked with that last night. I kind of saw where they were at, but personally, I just like Sean's look better, but that's just my 2 cents, and sadly, that doesn't count.
Yeah, it was a battle. It could have gone either way, in my opinion. I agree with you. Sean was harder and definitely thicker muscle all around.
A lot more dense.
But Keon has that freaky, beautiful shape, and you know, it was the best he's ever been.
Of course, I think that has a lot to do with it too. Hey, it's the best this guy's ever been. Did Sean get substantially better? So I feel like when that happens, then a lot of times the judges kind of have to talk about that. I think a lot of times too, like if you kind of look into men's physique, Ryan Terry was the best he's ever been today by far. He's always been knocked for his back. He actually has a back now to match his front side, and he's come up exponentially. He's going to be battling Brandon, but I think they do take that into factor. Like, hey, like this guy's been around for a little bit, and he is substantially better this year. Brandon's kind of Brandon, which is 2-time Mr. Olympia. So it's kind of like, what do you want? What direction do you want to go?
I don't think that improvement.
Yeah, because you see it and you're like, whoa, like when you come up on stage, like this guy's really made a lot of differences. And I think sometimes that kind of favors those people, just because if you're used to seeing somebody all the time and you see somebody who's substantially better, who's been knocking at the door, I think sometimes that can work in their favor.
For sure. Well, we're going to find out tonight at the finals for the 2023 Olympia. Brent, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Awesome, guys. I'm glad I always talk to you.
For sure, and good luck next season.
Awesome.